Hello there, my name is ChrisTenarium, and today I'm playing Autumn's Journey, made by Cider. Now, it's made by several people who, as far as I'm aware, have worked for other visual novel people in the past, mostly Winter Wolves and a few other people. So, my standards have already been set rather high. I'm expecting this game to be good because it's done by people who are established, not just some random 13-year-old tosspot's first game about love. So, let's get cracking, shall we? Because apparently it's a short game. I think we're just going to do this in 20+ minute parts because YOLO! Chapter 1, The End of Summer. Yes, good. I'm not that slow at reading. It doesn't need to be up for that long. Oh my god. Look, I'm not one of these Greenpeace people, but someone has chopped up a load of zebras and put their skin over trees. Bastards! And I don't know about that. Also, wow! This is huge! This box is gigantic! Sunlight filtered through the airy birch forest as the lush ferns grazed my boots. I momentarily shedded my eyes. I'm not sure we want to shed someone's eyes. Shielded my eyes before I turned north, treading carefully. The muggy atmosphere that had hung over the past few months was now being replaced by the subtle crispness of fall. Though the trees were still vibrantly green, apple picking season was fast approaching to the town of Berry. I cheerfully stretched one arm towards the sky, inhaling deeply. And thus my weekly scouting for monsters, bandits, or anything out of the ordinary may harm local citizens is over. So we get monsters, bandits, and stuff out of the ordinary. I'm not surprised. I mean, look, if we walk 10 feet forward, it looks like a place where Dementors roam. And look at it, just looks horrible and black and blue. I don't know about that. This looks like somewhere that people go to die. Christ.
Right.
Great, and that concludes my mission. I laughed, wondering why I was announcing my agenda to no one, because you're an idiot. Oh my god. Well, hang on. Where's the settings? Yes, there we are. It's not voiced, someone is laughing over it. I'm not having that. I guess I just always wanted to say that out loud. Well, you picked an odd time to do it. Walking around alone does prompt you into monologuing just so you can hear a voice. Can't say I've done that. I just wish I wasn't restricted to freelance work in Berry, though. How long is my training going to last? I'm more than ready for knighthood. I can do this. You look 7. You don't look like you can do much. I'm surprised you can tie your own shoelaces. I adjusted the belt, holding my sword, making sure the hilt could be pulled at a moment's notice. A moment's notice. It's going to have to be a bit quicker than that. A bear charges at you. Yeah, no, hang on. Yeah, give me a minute, mate, give me a minute. Humming, I decided to meander back to the village by following the thin river down the gentle slope. I loved the terrain there, not super rocky, but not entirely flat either. There was always an inclination, and higher up, I could get a breathtaking panorama of Berry and its endless orchards. Orchards? I've never heard it. I assume that's a plant, but whatever. Also, am I pronouncing berry right? Is it berry? Is it French? Especially in autumn when the leaves were so vibrantly red that the entire forest seemed to ignite, and the smell crisp, frost, and thick fallen foliage lingered welcomely. Christ, this is really... There are some words in this which don't come up too often. Normally I'm about 3 or 4 words ahead of where I'm actually reading, but Jesus, I might actually have to stick to the word this time. It was then spotted something entirely out of the ordinary near the riverbank, leaning against a birch tree. Then birch trees were not exactly known to be comfortable resting spots, and I did not recognise the stranger's attire. Hello, are you a traveller? Oh, God. It's a pretty boy. Mate, is that what your ears look like, or did someone just shove, like, several splinters of wood into them? You might want to get that looked at. If you don't respond, I'm not exactly not going to be surprised. His face came into view and I realised he was sleeping, but that's not what caught me off guard. He had beautiful protrusions resembling shale shards jutting out of his long hair, right where someone's ears should be. Or was it a decoration covering his ears? This man has been in very gory battles. I suddenly wanted to touch them, but he wanted to touch them, what? Oh, hello, person I've never seen, sleeping there. Oh, his ears look rather sexy. I'm just going to touch the... He would stick a sword through your abdomen. If he woke up in an untimely manner, it would be awkward to explain. At first, I was about to leave, but then I noticed something else rather odd. From a simple glance, I saw no bags, no possessions, or anything else on him. This place was too far away from civilization for a simple afternoon stroll. Was he mugged? Does he look like he's been mugged? And if he had been in Bury previously, I would have known it was that small of a town. Curiosity won me over. Hello? A flicker of concern passed over my face. I grabbed his shoulder and gave it a gentle shake, finding his lack of response unnerving. I quickly hovered a hand in front of his nose. Sure enough, he was breathing. Odd way, odd way. Sure enough, he was breathing, and I did not see any injuries that would suggest he was knocked unconscious. After some more feeble attempts to wake him up, I decided to improvise at camp. I did not want to leave him unattended, and I knew I couldn't drag his body very far. Drag his body. That's how unoptimistic we are. That's where we think this is going. Just like, drag his body. Tossing down my bag, I went to work. How long will you work for? Are we going to get back? It's night. Oh my god, it's night. The fire crackled merrily on the birchwood. Where? No, it didn't. On the birchwood as I opened my cloth, which contained a lump of rye bread and hard cheese. These were emergency rations, lest I was unable to return to Bury. Mother and father were probably worried. Just as I was about to bite into the cheese, I saw movement and I glanced up, eyeing the staring stranger. He rose from the ground? What is he, a zombie? Setting my food down, I cautiously shuffled over. I had previously placed his body in a supine position and used my bag as a substitute pillow. Though it was probably more lumpy than anything else, it was better than nothing. Just don't sleep without a pillow. Are you awake now? You've been out all afternoon. I was getting worried. I trailed off before I started rambling and watched him curiously as he opened his eyes. He's going to be a penis, isn't he? In a split second, he shot up. What is he, a vampire? What is it with those fangs? Jesus. And then clumsily fell back. I caught his arm to steady him. Whoa, take it easy. You just got up, Trico. He flinched from my skin contact. I hastily let go, retreating slightly. I didn't get any sense of hostility, but he suddenly seemed bewildered. Who are you? There was an uneasy edge in his voice, not quite one of panic, but more of anger. It was then when I noticed his eyes were of a brilliant amethyst hue, contrasting with his earthy hair tones. Better to remain calm. Does that mean something? And I just don't... I found you in the woods outside of Bury. The surprise did not leave his eyes. They darted quickly off his hands, which then covered his face. Lastly, he ran his fingers through his brown hair. The horror on his face was so unsettling that I dumbly sat there for several seconds before mustering the courage to address him again. Are you alright? Probably not. Obviously not, but I wanted a better grasp of the situation, as long as you realise it's a stupid question. He attempted to sit up again, but this time I was prepared. Again, he was repelled by my touch, and I gave up the desire to help him that way. He still appeared unstable, but ceased his sudden movements at least. He actually did it. The hell? He clutched at his temples, his fingers grazing over the odds fixations on the place of his ears. He wobbled as he tried to stand, and I impatiently rushed to his side. Stop it! You obviously can't move in your condition, so you might as well sit down and clear your head. What is going on? Who are you and what are you doing here? I doubt he's going to answer this. He looked at me as if he was registering me for the first time since asking who I was. Everything about him screamed overwhelmed, and he simply grit his teeth in frustration. Ask if he's hungry, say... I'm supposed to be caring, I'll ask if he's hungry. I decided to find another angle to help him open up. I did not consider myself intimidating, but it was possible he had no desire to answer anything. Are you hungry? I softened my voice and returned to the spot by the fire. I grabbed the cloth and genially offered him the rye bread and cheese. He only arched an eyebrow in disgust. What is that? It's food. You chew it. I ripped off a piece of the dark bread and demonstrated, humming delightfully, to show that it was edible. He scoffed and averted his eyes. I don't want it. It looks revolting. Sorry, my peasant food does not please my lord's taste. His attitude is rubbing off on me. Calm down. If anything, he's hiding that he's scared. He did just wake up in the first place. That is definitely it. He is scared. Play the spider syndrome. Are you nobility? He fell silent, and only the occasional crackle of the fire and the hooting of the owls interrupted the stillness. How long were we silent for? If that kept interrupting the stillness. I leaned back and ruminated over my meal, careful to leave some food untouched in case he changed his mind. Ah, there was that apple tart too. I'll save it for later. I wrapped up the cloth, only vaguely aware that the stranger was examining my every movement. Oh, only vaguely aware. No, seems like not something that you'd only vaguely be aware of. Yeah, he's watching everything I do. Yeah, it's alright. Bleh. Christ. It nettled me slightly, but I decided not to comment. I did not want to do anything that would cause him to raise his guard even more. It was now dark, and I occasionally fed the fire, getting the feeling I was going to be spending the night. After what seemed like an eternity, he finally spoke up. Who are you again? Aurelie, you twat. I'm from the town of Bury, and you? Kerr. You're called Kerr. Well, your parents just weren't that inventive, clearly. He reluctantly uttered the name, gazing into the fire. He seemed much calmer now. And how did you get here? His lips curled, almost smirking knowingly. You probably wouldn't believe it if I told you. No, but tell me anyway. You have unusual eyes and a strange fashion accessory over your ears, apparently. I can't see the other one. I think I can find your story credible. He flexed his hand, scrutinizing his fingers carefully. I didn't come here willingly. Out of all the places, I don't see why he decided to drop me in this low-born, simplistic... Kerr? He glared at me as if offended that I had addressed him directly. So, where are you from? I'm not particularly tied to any region. If it's not obvious already, I'm not one of you. Racism for the win! Yeah! He tapped his knee petulantly. I am one of the dragons, an earth dragon. You're a dragon? Just... Alright, come on then, where are your wings? I don't see your wings. Alan Rickman had wings in Dogma. If he can have wings, so can you. No wings? Didn't think so. That back... What is that down there? Because his hair's brown here, it gets down there, it's just like grey. He stated it full of pride with no ounce of humility. Dubiously, I inspected him from head to toe, taking note of the stone-like juts for ears and his remarkable eyes. He balked under my stare, but quickly regained his dignity. His eyebrows furrowed fiercely. That they did. So why would an earth dragon be hit? It's not because I wanted to. He blurted it out angrily, then touched his unique ears for comfort. I sighed and tilted my head from side to side as I absorbed his explanation. All right. I'll admit I'm not exactly accepting this as feasible, but I'm not dismissing it either. Fuck that, I believed it immediately. We have a dragon in front of us and this is a fantasy game, for God's sake. You can't transform back? If I could, do you think I would remain in this pathetic body, so weak? I instinctively patted my sword hilt to counter that remark, but stopped when I saw him attempt to stand again. It was like watching a toddler take his or her first steps, but instead of cutely coaxing, I was fervently discouraging his efforts. We've already established that you're unfamiliar with your form. Besides, it's too dark to walk around aimlessly. I'll find a walking stick for you, and we can return back to Bury if you'd like. I'd feel wrong if I abandoned you in this state. Let me guess, that's the way he feels, but tomorrow morning he's just going to be like, oh, go on, I'll go anyway. Are you saying that I can't handle myself? I'm pointing it out. Realising we were both escalating our voices, I looked away in a huff, not wanting to have our encounter turn sour so rapidly. An altar. I need to find an altar. You heavenkind worship us, right? Well, yeah, I mean, the dragonkind were here first, so it's only natural we repay our respects. Tell that to Australia. I admit, I thought... Yeah, again, it's a joke, I isn't twat. It's only one political party and people's views differ, yeah? We cleared that up? No anger comments from twats who are stupid? Good. I admit I thought dragons were more divine and irreproachable. Kerr was definitely giving me a definite impression. I barely knew anything about the dragonkind, though. They focused on their own affairs. You will take me there. It was a plain statement, not a suggestion or a plea. Why an altar? They're all heavenkind made. How would it help you? He parried my questioning exasperatedly. It doesn't matter, do you know where one is? I'm trying to help you, you penis! Yes, there's one not too far from here. There's a cave that leads to it. Relief washed over his face, and for once his scowl vanished. Good, we should go there this instant. No, we're sleeping, you twat. He obstinately... Jesus Christ. They like their fancy adverbs, don't they? I fucking love them. Tried to stand up again, but I lunged forward and firmly sat him back down. He gaped at me in disbelief, but my will was as stubborn as his. Morning, we will do this in the morning. Get some sleep and I'll find an ideal walking stick. I don't think you'll master bipedalism without some assistance, especially not in a day. And it'll be difficult if I have to physically support you the whole way there. Sour. Also, for a lowborn, I look incredible. Like, I have really looked after myself. I do not look like I come from like a slum. So, just take it easy tonight. I'll even keep watch while you sleep. After my entreatment, he fell silent and gave a reluctant nod, closing his eyes warily. I sighed gratefully, feeling moderately triumphant over that battle of pig-headedness. As Kerr was grumbling, I leaned over and pulled a small blanket out of my bag. The temperature was still pleasant even at night, but it could cool rapidly, especially since it was the end of summer. Oh god, I'd love that. I'm in a place at the moment where I'm roasting. 16 minutes in and I look like I've just come out of a shower. It's horrible. After returning some items to my bag, I reshaped it so it was passable. So it was a passable pillow again and offered it to Kerr, who seemed puzzled by its purpose. Believe me, you'll need something comfortable or you'll have trouble sleeping. Worse, you'll wake up with a sore back and getting to the altar will be even more troublesome. You already slept on it once, I think you can figure out how to support your head with it again. I laughed sheepishly at my own stab at lightening the mood, but I couldn't tell it was working for... Yeah, funny that. Disgruntled, he lay down on his side and experimented with a few positions before resting his head in satisfaction. Say thank you, you cock! You're a god! Oh, god. Are you like the Greek gods? You just pissed off at everything? But those humans, they're bastards, aren't they? Durr, they shall be mine. I think that's what the kind of god this person is. At first, he refused to use the blanket, but as temperature dropped, he discreetly pulled it towards him when he thought I wouldn't notice. Probably to hide his expression, he rolled over on his back. It was to me and the campfire. I had a feeling the initial shock took a lot out of him. I admittedly hadn't helped when he ruffled my feathers more than once. Now that he was sleeping, though, any irritation I still felt dispersed along with the summer heat. I would need to mentally and physically be prepared for tomorrow. Stay cool and collected as autumn. We refer to states of mind as seasons, oh goody gumdrops. I poked the fire and stayed on my watch until exhaustion beguiled me into resting my eyes for just a few minutes. And then I fell asleep and he wasn't there when I got up. Oh my god. I'm poking him with a stick. Is that really where this is going? Also, how hot is he? Holy shit, like, he's roasting up in there. Oh, please, I've had less sleep than you, and I'm already energized and ready to go. Pouting, I poke Kerr some more with the walking stick I'd fashioned for him. That's like the shittest walking stick ever. It's even bent at the end. But I'm assuming the other way is as well. That's why you're holding it that way. That way you don't know how a walking stick works. It wouldn't be easy to find a sturdy stick at a birch forest, but I had located a long one that would suffice. It looks a bit thin. I'd spent the morning carving off any bark and had even indented the top to make sure it was easier to grip. Now it was my dragon prod. Up! Arise, sacred dragon! There's definitely a sexual innuendo in there somewhere. Cut that out! Kerr hastily shot up, throwing off my blanket in a feeble attempt to hide the fact he had used it. I decided to counter his usual scowl with the perkiest, most cheerful grin I could muster. Good morning! My buoyancy was genuine. For some reason, it satisfied me to know that my vivaciousness irked him. The writer either had a decent vocabulary, and they were just thinking about everything in their eye, or they were abusing a thesaurus to the point where it's having counselling. I could use my sunny disposition to my advantage. It had better be snapping at him at any rate. Stop poking me with that. It's your walking stick. You're welcome. I turned it sideways and offered it to him. He warily gazed at it as if I was presenting a cobra instead, but carefully grasped it. Cautiously, he pressed the stick against the ground, and as he stood up, I remained close, lest he topple over like yesterday. His fingers drummed against the carved handle, and he looked at me quizzically. You spent time on this? Well, I wanted to finish it off with a pretty flowing ribbon, but I had the feeling you wouldn't like it. Why are you deliberately fucking taking the piss and making life harder for yourself? Grumbling, Kerr took a step forward, leaning on the stick before hesitantly taking another. With each step, he regained some confidence, and soon as he was walking in a straight line, albeit with an uneven gait, he could not exactly break into a run or even risk a brisk stride, but it was a huge improvement from last night. I estimated we could reach the cave leading to the altar by mid-afternoon. No, we're not doing that. I quickly packed and followed him, since I had the feeling the only thing on his mind was that altar. We're going to get there and the altar's going to be broken. It's got to be one of the two. We're not going to get there and everything's going to work. He's like, anyway, bye, and then leaves. It's this way. I pointed towards the gentle incline, and Kerr narrowed his eyes resentfully. Going downhill would probably be difficult for him. That's better! Christ, you're saying about a weak thing, and then you're like, oh no, I'm going to go uphill. As we headed towards our destination, I kept my distance at first, but I gradually drew toward Kerr, one hand extended in anticipation of a stumble. Kerr balked and increased the distance between us, determined to progress on his own. Why was he walking ahead of me? Like, we needed me as a guide. That makes no... whatever. However, his pace was excruciatingly slow, and he was unwilling to start any small talk. As the slope gradually steepened, his footing became more unsteady, and I worryingly grabbed his arm for support. What? He twirled around in surprise, and I actually did end up bracing him. Once he was stable again, I sighed. Look, I know you don't like me touching you. But if your priority is to get to that altar as soon as possible, I think you could swallow your dignity and accept my help. He's a godlike creature. Dignity is all to him. Besides, no one else is around to see. You've done enough, I don't need any more help from you. He shifted his weight and started using the stick to ward me away. I frowned disapprovingly. Well, if you tried to hit me with that thing, I'll confiscate it. I wouldn't even I wouldn't do something like that. Gritting his teeth, he leaned heavily against one of the birch trees. When I get back, I'm going to give him a piece of my mind. Who? My master. His curt answer stalled the torrent of questions piling up in my head. It would be poor of me to interrogate him, as he was still obviously overwhelmed by the situation. It's been a day! He should be fine by this point. Right now, the goal was more important. Then let's get you to that cave. You believe me, everything I told you? Maybe you're just a very convincing actor, but I think even an actor would drop his shroud after a while. What the fuck was that?